We'd shot the film on Martha's Vineyard, and you could follow the progress of the film by the amount of radio mics there were all over the island.
Right.
At 77, Richard Dreyfuss, one of Hollywood's most outspoken and fascinating talents, finally opened up about something fans had long wondered: who his favorite actors really are. Over a career spanning more than 5 decades, Dreyfuss worked with some of cinema's finest names.
Complete with chanting and burning incense, so if you've got to walk around, I'd appreciate a little tiptoeing. Also, I sleep in the nude. A buffer.
Starred in iconic films like Jaws, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and The Goodbye Girl, and earned a reputation for being honest, sometimes brutally so. When he decided to reveal the 7 actors he admires most, the choices reflected not just talent, but also the passion and craftsmanship that shaped his own remarkable journey.
Qu'est-ce qui vous fait dire ça?
What makes you say that?
I just know. There's nothing wrong with it.
Je le sais.
Go outside and make me a...
In his own reflective and sometimes emotional words, Dreyfuss explained why these actors stood out to him. Not for fame or glamour, but for their dedication to truth and performance. Each name tells a story, a memory, or an inspiration that helped him define what acting truly means. Let's dive into Richard Dreyfuss's list of 7 actors he holds in the highest regard. 1. Marlon Brando. For a young actor growing up in the 1950s and 60s, Brando represented the ultimate goal: to make audiences forget they were watching a performance. That raw honesty inspired Dreyfuss throughout his career, pushing him to take emotional risks even in blockbuster films.
I don't know what I could say about it that might be useful or amusing or interesting.
Then we'll get off of that.
Richard Dreyfuss readily identified Marlon Brando as a profound influence on his acting career. For Dreyfuss, Brando was more than just an actor. He represented a paradigm shift in performance. Witnessing films like A Streetcar Named Desire and On the Waterfront fundamentally altered Dreyfuss's understanding of dramatic portrayal. Brando possessed a unique ability to imbue vulnerability with immense power and to reveal the deeply human side of strength. Dreyfuss frequently articulated how Brando's approach diverged sharply from the polished, often artificial, performances prevalent in early Hollywood. He once stated, "He made acting dangerous. He made it unpredictable. He made it real." This sentiment underscores Brando's groundbreaking contribution to the craft, tearing down the conventional barriers of theatricality. For a budding actor coming of age in the 1950s and 60s, Brando embodied the ultimate artistic aspiration: to transcend the performance itself and make audiences truly believe in the reality unfolding before them. Brando's raw, unvarnished honesty became a guiding principle for Dreyfuss throughout his own career. It propelled him to embrace emotional risks, even when working on large-scale blockbuster productions, ensuring that his portrayals retained an authentic human core. This dedication to authenticity, inspired by Brando, allowed Dreyfuss to connect with audiences on a deeper, more visceral level, solidifying his own reputation as an actor committed to truth in performance. The revolutionary impact of Brando's work, as recognized by Dreyfuss, continued to resonate for generations of actors, shaping the very landscape of modern acting. 2. Dustin Hoffman. Few actors have had as profound an effect on Richard Dreyfuss as Dustin Hoffman. Both men came from the same school of realism and intensity, and both were part of the new wave of American actors who took Hollywood by storm in the 1970s. Dreyfuss admired Hoffman for his meticulous dedication to character. From The Graduate to Kramer versus Kramer and Rain Man, Hoffman embodied roles so fully that he often seemed to disappear into them. Dreyfuss once joked that Hoffman didn't act. He became an entirely different person. Their mutual respect ran deep, though Dreyfuss admitted that Hoffman's perfectionism could be both inspiring and intimidating. "He always reminded me that great acting isn't comfortable," Dreyfuss said. "You have to go to dark places and not care how you look getting there." 3. Jack Nicholson. Richard Dreyfuss described Jack Nicholson as the embodiment of fearless acting. What impressed him most about Nicholson wasn't just his talent, it was his daring. Whether in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Chinatown, or The Shining, Nicholson broke every rule and made it work. Dreyfuss recalled the first time he saw Easy Rider, saying it felt like a declaration of artistic freedom. Nicholson didn't just play characters, He challenged Hollywood's entire idea of what a leading man should be. He admired the wild charisma Nicholson brought to every role, the glint in his eye that made audiences unsure of what he'd do next. Dreyfuss believed that kind of unpredictability was the secret to great acting. Jack never played safe. He trusted the madness inside him. 4. Gene Hackman. When Dreyfuss mentioned Gene Hackman, there was a note of deep respect in his voice. He called Hackman a working man's actor, someone who didn't need to rely on glamour or tricks to command the screen. Hackman's performances in The French Connection, The Conversation, and Unforgiven deeply affected Dreyfuss. He admired Hackman's ability to play ordinary men with extraordinary depth, revealing strength and vulnerability in equal measure. Gene Hackman could stand still, say almost nothing, and still make you believe you were watching a man fighting for his soul, Dreyfuss said. That ability to express so much with so little was something Dreyfuss tried to emulate throughout his own career. 5. Robert De Niro. For Dreyfuss, Robert De Niro represented discipline, transformation, and total commitment. Watching De Niro in Taxi Driver and Raging Bull convinced him that acting could be as demanding and dangerous as any physical sport. He was especially impressed by De Niro's preparation, gaining or losing weight, changing his voice, even learning entire new skills for a role. To Dreyfuss, this wasn't vanity, it was devotion. When you see Robert De Niro in a movie, he said, you're seeing months or even years of invisible work that make every second feel alive. What Dreyfuss loved most, though, was De Niro's subtlety. He could say more with a look than most actors can with a page of dialogue. 6. Al Pacino. Richard Dreyfuss often spoke about Al Pacino with both admiration and envy. He admired Pacino's intensity, the raw, almost volcanic energy that powered performances in The Godfather, Serpico, and Dog Day Afternoon. Dreyfuss called Pacino a storm that never dies down. Even in quieter scenes, there was a restless power beneath the surface. You can see him thinking, you can see him feeling, Dreyfuss said, and you can't look away. He respected Pacino's refusal to compromise, his belief that every scene deserved total emotional truth. For Dreyfuss, Pacino was proof that acting could still feel dangerous, even when surrounded by fame and comfort. 7. Tom Hanks. The last name on Dreyfuss's list surprised many people, but it made perfect sense to him. He described Tom Hanks as the modern-day everyman who carries the heart of Hollywood on his shoulders. For Dreyfuss, Hanks's genius lay in his humanity. From Forrest Gump to Saving Private Ryan and Castaway, Hanks represented the kind of acting that connects directly to audiences without ego or artifice. He doesn't act to impress, Dreyfuss said. He acts to remind us who we are. Dreyfuss admired how Hanks brought grace and authenticity to roles that might otherwise have felt sentimental. He makes decency cinematic, he once remarked, a rare compliment in an industry obsessed with spectacle. When Richard Dreyfuss revealed his 7 favorite actors, it wasn't a list designed to impress critics or fans. It was a love letter to the craft of acting itself, a tribute to those who pushed boundaries, took risks, and made truth their ultimate goal. For Dreyfuss, these 7 actors, Brando, Hoffman, Nicholson, Hackman, De Niro, Pacino, and Hanks, represented the full spectrum of what makes cinema magical. Each one, in their own way, reminded him why he fell in love with storytelling and why he never stopped believing that performance is a kind of human miracle. At 77, looking back on a lifetime of art, fame, and sometimes controversy, Richard Dreyfuss's admiration for these greats feels like the most honest reflection of his own journey. They were his teachers, rivals, and inspirations, all rolled into one. And in the end, his message was simple. Great acting isn't about pretending, it's about revealing. And these 7 actors revealed everything.